This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the current state of WWE. I've got Anthony DeMarco with me tonight on this April 24th, a Monday, as Raw is currently going on, and hope everyone's doing well, and we are going to get going on the show tonight, and, you know, we're going to do a bit of a split topic and not necessarily focus on everything that happened exactly this week in WWE, but rather, we've got an interesting topic of a possible CM Punk return, and look at Backlash a little bit early, so I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, dude. And like I said, I did not catch wind of it today. I obviously had a very busy day, a busier day than I initially thought. But that's massive, massive news, especially with all the rumblings that he was maybe going to go back to AEW as they're looking to sell out one of their pay-per-views. I believe it's overseas. Is it in England, the pay-per-view that they have coming up?
Yeah, the O2 Arena in England. Yep.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, the fact that he's now maybe accepting of an olive branch from WWE, that is massive, massive news.
It's huge. And, I mean, of course, none of this is confirmed by WWE yet. However, and I'm looking at this just as we're speaking so that it's not just off a random clickbait website. This is off a credible website. I mean, MSN even picked this up. And it says that CM Punk is right now had a surprise backstage appearance. Now, this is the final Raw before WWE is officially booked for Chicago. Okay, so don't forget about that. Raw is booked for Chicago, and so that would kind of lend itself to be a perfect fit of having CM Punk return. And it is shocking on so many levels if this is not just a visit to see old friends and they're in town and hey, because that's happened before. We've heard shocking return, but it's just somebody visiting backstage. So putting that possibility aside, if this is
Sorry, man.
it's all good. If this is for the purpose of a return, if this is for the reason of CM Punk returning to WWE, I mean, you think about the levels that it would have to really shock people to get to this point. The issues he's had with Triple H and CM Punk are not exactly on each other's Christmas card lists, right? Like, they openly don't like one another. So looking at all this, all the possibility, the AEW drama, do you think that this is possible that he returns to WWE, that the purpose of him coming back is to think about or book a WWE return?
Well, I mean, it's not like a typical wrestler, like let's say if Steve Austin is coming back or Kurt Angle or The Undertaker or The Rock, where you're, hey, how's it going? You know, we're such good friends. Everything ended on such great terms. No, he's kind of the one who started this exodus of being name level guys, and certainly guys who would go on podcasts after leaving and pull no punches. Like, what was it, Colt Cabana's podcast, ironically enough, that he went on and just really kind of pulled the curtain back and explained exactly why he left WWE in early 2014, I believe it was. And it doesn't seem like CM Punk would be going there just to, you know, chit chat and catch up with Triple H, Paul Levesque, especially given the fact that one of the straws that broke the camel's back was that he didn't want to face Triple H back at WrestleMania 30, I believe it was. So, I mean, there's no love lost here between WWE and CM Punk. And then you look at what happened in AEW and how uneventful that run was and how infamously it ended, specifically with the executive vice presidents of the AEW company. And you have to wonder, like, from both WWE side and CM Punk side, would it not just be the ultimate kick in the balls to Tony Khan if they could set their differences aside and bring him back onto WWE programming?
It would be, yeah. Look, the thing is, though, I mean, if I'm WWE, I'm looking at this and I'm very cautious, given the press conference, the now infamous press conference that CM Punk did with Tony Khan on stage. Just, I don't know if he was scarfing down a cheeseburger and embarrassed the company, embarrassed Tony Khan. He said he's an old man, he's beat up, he doesn't, it was not a good look for the company. It was not a good look for CM Punk. It was not a good look for Tony Khan or anybody. So I would be very cautious that sometimes he can be a drama magnet and he can do things that may not make the company he's working for look the best. That said, as I'm reading a report right now, because I'm seeing this all over Comic Book and MSN and everything, here is what one of the reports say, and this is from Give Me Sport, right off of MSN affiliated, and they said that CM Punk was backstage at Raw and had a brief meeting with Triple H. Punk, who's under contract with AEW, was then asked to leave the building, which is believed to have been a call from Vince McMahon. CM Punk's surprise appearance backstage at Raw is the first time he's been at a show since his departure from the company in 2014. Lastly, the decision to have Punk asked to leave might not have been because of who he is or because of his controversial exit from WWE, but more because of the fact he's contracted with AEW and is rumored to be returning in just a few months. So interesting, he was asked to leave by the company and security escorted him out, but not because maybe he was being belligerent or being disrespectful, but rather they don't want to get themselves in any legal hot water with AEW, given that he's a contracted wrestler in AEW. So given what I just said, what's your reaction?
Well, I mean, it sounds like it was an amicable meeting. Like, it doesn't sound like he just showed up there and started raising hell. A meeting with Triple H, I mean, he's the head of creative. He's the big dog in terms of the programming. That's certainly something to keep an eye on. And like we just said, it's not like him and Triple H were the best of buddies. So it's not like he was just sitting in his office and, catching up over a couple drinks. All signs would point to maybe him wanting to kick tires on a potential return, or vice versa, maybe both sides showing mutual interest, and then him being escorted out of the building. I mean, if he was there for just, to say handshakes and, say hi to old friends, I don't think he would have been escorted out. So it sounds like there was something more to this than simply just him showing up to, say hi to everybody. It feels like maybe some seeds were being planted. But I think the one thing that we should be cautious here is that, and I think you're in the same boat with me here, is that, CM Punk's return in AEW was one of the more disappointing and underwhelming returns. Like, look, I'm not an AEW guy. I really watch sparingly, and that's being generous. But everything I saw of CM Punk, like, he has slowed down in the ring. I think that maybe we remembered it too fondly, his run in WWE, because of his exit, and everyone got so behind him. So, like, I think that we just have to be cautious here that if he were to come back, it's not the CM Punk that we remember. And I think that sometimes we remember CM Punk to be even bigger than what he was. And that's not to say that he was, not good. He was obviously a great wrestler for a long period stretch there, one of the top guys in the business. But I just often think, like, maybe it was just too much of a revisionist history because of the way that he went out of WWE in 2014 and how everyone organically got so behind him upon him leaving the company. Is there any of that kind of concerns you with CM Punk?
Yeah, I mean, there is, and I think your point about him being bigger than people remember is probably well-founded. I mean, he is 9 years older, as you said. He's slower, which is to be expected as we all age. That's just, it's kind of the way things work. And I think that this meeting, it makes me think kind of what you're thinking, that this was a brief meeting, he didn't just drop by the building. I don't think. I would imagine that, as you said, it was a quick civil meeting with Triple H to kind of see where things are. And hey, whenever my AEW contract is up, which whenever that is, hey, what do you think? Is it possible? Do we mend fences? That kind of thing. And I think that right now, CM Punk is probably looking at this as a last run in WWE to see if it's possible. And I guess let me just ask you straight out, like if this was a meeting to set up a possible CM Punk return, and whenever his contract expires with AEW, I actually don't know. But whenever that is, maybe it's end of the year, start of next year, which ironically is also MJF's contract that's expiring, and I really hope I see him in WWE. But would you even want CM Punk back in WWE? Like, is that something you'd want to see?
Well, him returning to the company, that's an interesting question, because you have to look at everything here. You have to look at a macro view. And maybe 2012, 2013 CM Punk would have been the perfect guy to dethrone Roman Reigns, or even forget dethroning him, maybe just being his best adversary for a stretch of time. But 2023 CM Punk, there's probably not a lot of tread left on those tires. And I know that he only returned 20 months ago, so it still feels fresh, his return. It feels like a homecoming of sorts. But man, like, I saw him in the ring, and maybe, like you said, of him eating, I believe it was muffins and really kind of disgracing the company there. I just can't see him being thrown into the main event scene. No, that being said, he could be a hell of a contender to, be in that mid-card range. Like, not to say that he can't get a world title shot here and there, but I think that if you're bringing CM Punk back, it cannot be just to insert him into the world title picture. I think AEW's mistake was trying to bring him in and making him the face of the company. Maybe that was name value. Maybe that was them trying to maximize on his initial return, which was an amazing return, obviously a massive pop. But I think that you just have to be realistic in what you think you're getting from CM Punk.
That's fair. As you mentioned, look, it's been nearly 10 years since CM Punk's departure from WWE, and he wasn't exactly a young guy when he left. And now he's aged, as we've mentioned. But throwing him into the main event, as you said, is probably, when I say main event, the title picture, assuming Roman Reigns is still champion, it would be an interesting dynamic, though. Even if you don't plan on making him champion, it's still fun to think about the visual, or after Roman defeats his latest opponent, whoever that's going to be, and he's standing there, and, as John Cena's music hit at SummerSlam a few years ago, and, like, you could have that visual and the crowd losing it, and it's a cool moment, and it's a goosebump moment and all that, and CM Punk goes face to face with Roman after he's beaten his latest opponent. We've seen it, and it's a good formula, but it's also, unfortunately, a predetermined outcome that all fans are going to go, well, that's a cool moment, but there's no chance they're going to put the belt on Punk. It makes no sense. A guy that left the company, talked trash about the company for many, many, many years, and didn't return to WWE, decided to return to AEW, disgraced AEW in a lot of ways, and then they're going to put the belt on a guy that left the company and made them look bad. Yeah, it's not going to happen, right? Like, there's no chance of that happening, but it's still a fun thing to think about. The promos between Roman and Punk are fun to think about. Promos between Punk and a lot of other guys are fun, but it's just, you put him in a main event. You don't do it for the title, though. I think he could come back and face a top level heel, but I don't know if it's Roman Reigns per se for the championship.
Yeah, like, the one thing that popped into my head is just, like, I think a program with Austin Theory would just be insane. And that's something that could maybe elevate Austin Theory, because I think Austin Theory is a hell of a talent, but he still has yet to have that true top end program or rivalry with the guy to really put him over. And, like, maybe Austin Theory rubs me a bit. That sounded weird. Austin Theory reminds me a bit of Randy Orton from 2004. And I think about Randy Orton having that program with Mick Foley. They had the tag match at WrestleMania 20, the hardcore match at Backlash 04. And I think that maybe CM Punk could do for Austin Theory what Mick Foley did for Randy Orton. And it's a veteran guy. CM Punk arguably has more star power than Mick Foley. It wouldn't have to be solely based around, like, hardcore matches. Like, and imagine them going back and forth on the mic. Like, do you think that's something that would be a really good investment for Austin Theory?
Oh, yeah, because Austin Theory, I understand why they put the belt on him. I know why Vince McMahon did what he did with him and saw the potential in him. I absolutely do. And I think you're right that Austin Theory, he still hasn't had that moment yet. He's had good promos to really good promos, and obviously in ring, there's no problem. He's got the look, he's got the presence, he's got the title. But his champion or his victory against John Cena, unfortunately, was tainted at WrestleMania, so that really didn't help him, even though he beat Cena. The problem was they didn't have him beat Cena clean. I don't understand why they didn't have him beat Cena clean. Why do you have to protect John Cena at this point in his career? There's no point in it. It doesn't hurt Cena in the least. In fact, I think it would help Cena because you would look at it as Cena kind of giving the guy the rub, the nod. Hey, let's kind of, it's one of those just metaphorical passing of the torches. It made no sense to have Austin Theory win on a low blow. I really think that hurt Austin Theory more than helped. But yeah, you're right. Punk and Austin Theory would be a lot of fun. And I did, while I'm doing some research, come across a result from Raw that I think you and I are both going to love, and I want to spoil it for you. I'm not gonna spoil. It has nothing to do with CM Punk, but I won't tell you unless you ask. But I unfortunately came across it, and it's really good news for something you and I would be very, very happy with, but I'll leave it at that.
Speak more of it, because I usually listen to the Raw review that you do before I actually catch up on Monday Night Raw, so spill the beans.
And I only saw the headline, and I saw a picture, and it says that Triple H unveils new World Heavyweight title, and it's got a picture of the belt, and this is from Forbes.
No way!
Yeah, so Triple H has unveiled a new World Heavyweight title for, assumingly, Monday Night Raw ahead of the draft. Makes total sense. It also probably tells you how much longer they're envisioning Roman Reigns keeping both that championship, probably for at least maybe another 6 to 12 months, but at least now they've done it. Triple H has unveiled the new world title. I don't know if there's a tournament. I don't know who's going to challenge for it. I have none of that, no idea, but I do see a picture, and it's real.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. So I guess we got our answer that they kind of found a way to have their cake and eat it too, in the sense that Roman doesn't have to take a loss. He gets to keep holding the WWE Universal Undisputed Infinite Champion of the world. And now they're going to bring back the World Heavyweight title. I mean, the design, I thought that they could have maybe went back with the old one, but hey, whatever. The design is subjective, but I really like the fact that they're bringing back the World Heavyweight Championship, and I hope they continue the lineage, because the Universal title, I think, it got established fairly well, because once they really got those guys holding it like Triple H, or not the Universal, I'm getting them mixed up now. The Universal, you had guys like Brock holding it. You had Goldberg. You have... Who else held it? Kevin Owens, Finn Balor was the first one. I felt they did a good job of building up the Universal title. Bray Wyatt, yeah, exactly. I felt they did a good job of building up the Universal Championship well right off the bat, even though it was created out of thin air. Did you find that they did a decent job of building up the lineage of the Universal title, or it still always felt kind of fabricated?
Well, at first, yeah, it's certainly any title that's just created out of whole cloth is just, you're like, well, this means nothing yet. It's all about the guys that hold them. That holds true no matter how long the lineage of a championship is, I believe. But to answer your question, I think they've done a really nice job of making it feel important. Now, it is a little bit, the waters are a little bit muddied now that it's a combined quote unquote championship with the WWE, and I would like them to just give Roman a singular belt, and maybe that's what'll happen on SmackDown. Maybe Triple H will unveil a new undisputed championship for Roman Reigns. Maybe that is possible. I'm just thinking ahead that it would make sense for Roman to hold a singular championship if they're going to have him hold it for a while now. And but no, I think they've done a nice job with the Universal on its own before it became a combined championship to make it feel important, because it's the guys that hold them, and I think the guys that held them, generally speaking, outside of Goldberg, were a nice, they added value to the belt. And of course, when Roman held it, all bets were off, and it skyrocketed in value. This is really great news. I would imagine that somebody's going to be crowned champion at Backlash, or it could go all the way to the Saudi Arabia event in a month. I don't know. I haven't seen or heard anything else on Raw. Of course, those of you out there know the answer to that. I don't yet. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Backlash, though, before, I guess in keeping with the World Heavyweight Championship. Do you think that they're going to have a tournament? What's your guess before you see Raw? Do you think it'll culminate at Backlash?
Well, I just read a post quick, and I think it's going to culminate the Saudi event, which I think is being dubbed Night of Champions.
Okay.
So I guess they'll have a tournament or some sort. I remember the Gold Rush tournament in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they'll have something like that, but this time it's for a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. It does suck that once again we're kind of bypassing a pay-per-view. I hate when they do that, where it just kind of makes you realize like, oh, okay, so Backlash isn't that important of an event. But I guess that's kind of why they're doing this, right? Because with Roman holding 2 world titles and being the sole world champion, you get so many pay-per-views where there is no world title being defended. And especially in this stretch, right, between WrestleMania and let's say Survivor Series, where it feels like 2 out of every 3 pay-per-views, you don't have a world title being defended. So I mean, I would assume there's going to be a tournament. I don't know how they're going to decide who's in it. I would imagine it's going to be 16 guys, 8 on each side, Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. Do we even know when the draft is?
Yeah, it starts this Friday.
This Friday. So,
yep.
I mean, we're going to figure this out very fast. I would assume that this is going to be the Raw Championship and Roman will stay over on SmackDown. But as for Backlash, I mean, I think it's going to be a good pay-per-view. I mean, you have Cody and Brock, which is presumably going to be the main event. But I think what it shows is for pay-per-views like that, where Roman's not going to be present all the time, you desperately need another world champion.
And I think he's heard the cries of fans. And this also is a very fan-pleasing moment. And I think one that is that he had to answer and couldn't ignore anymore. I mean, it wasn't just podcasts like this one. It was I think the general feeling was, okay, Roman's not there. We get it. We will accept it. And I think people will be less angry now that you have a world champion on Raw, presumably in a month. And they won't be so not just angry at the story if you don't like the story, but angry at the company. I think a lot of the heat started to be directed at the company, and the pressure built for people to see another champion, one that was more consistent. And so, but yeah, to kind of close things out, I mean, looking at Backlash, I think it's a solid card. It is a quote unquote B pay-per-view. It's in Puerto Rico though. They're heavily focusing on Bad Bunny. I mean, my God, the promotion for Bad Bunny on this show is you would imagine he's, it's The Rock versus Stone Cold again or something. Like they're promoting the hell out of him, and I understand why. But Bad Bunny's on Raw tonight. We'll see obviously what he does. I'd imagine it's going to culminate in some kind of match, a tag team match with Rey Mysterio against Dom and Priest. That's my guess. But Cody and Brock is very interesting to me. Very interesting. And I would imagine that's going to be the main event, because there is no championship match to be had, at least at this time that I'm recording. So Cody and Brock main eventing. Are you looking forward to Cody and Brock?
I think so. And it makes me wonder, are one of these two guys going to be the first world heavyweight champion? Like, is Cody Rhodes going to get his moment right away? But then it begs the question, is that the belt that his dad never won? Like, did he mean specifically the WWE championship? Like, I know I'm going in a completely different direction between Cody and Brock, but I wonder if this is kind of like a leapfrog for Cody to, get a big win over Brock Lesnar and then set him up right away at the very next pay-per-view to win his first ever world championship. Because, way too early prediction, I'm assuming that they're going to give Cody the win and Brock is then going to run back to Saskatchewan for X amount of months. But do you think now that this is kind of perfectly setting up to catapult Cody Rhodes with a victory over Brock before maybe winning the championship?
Yeah, this does seem like it could fulfill the story of finishing the story for Cody Rhodes. I think they could. And those that are a little more technical or specific about what belts Dusty did and didn't win, I'm actually going to do a bit of a Google search after the show here, because I'm curious to know. I mean, I'm familiar with Dusty's career. We know the face. We know what his legacies. We know about the great promos he's cut. But the championships that he's won, you're right. We should think about that and go, well, is this really the belt that his dad never won? I don't know the answer to that, but if it is a belt that his dad never won, then the answer is fairly simple. I think Cody absolutely could be the one to capture. And actually, I don't see how it's not Cody Rhodes. I know the match at Backlash is not for the championship with Brock. Makes sense. I'm cool with it. It's a grudge match, and it's a new match, and it's going to be fun. But honestly, you can't introduce a new championship with a champion that's been a heel champion for 3 years, and then on the other side, we introduce a new championship belt, but that person's also a heel. You can't do it. It has to be a babyface champion. I don't see how it's Cody Rhodes, not Cody Rhodes. So sure, he could finish the story, and then we'll be able to balance out the equation here of having Cody Rhodes finish the story and balance out the heel Roman Reigns run.
And we're not Cody Rhodes fans, but we could be objective. Would you be okay with Cody Rhodes becoming the World Heavyweight Champion?
Yes, I'm fine with it. I really am. And you know what? Like, we haven't seen him as champion yet, so I mean, I'm willing to give it a chance. Maybe he adjusts some things in his character that aren't so off-putting, and maybe he changes a little thing here and there with his attire. I don't know. The things that annoy us, maybe he'll double down on. We don't know, but I'm willing to at least objectively give it a chance and not just say, oh, this is going to be terrible. I don't think it will. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. Really good in the ring sometimes, and really good on the mic sometimes, and he feels like he is the part. We just think he's miscast as a babyface. That's all. I think that's really our only gripe with Cody. Other than that, he's a world class act. He's a world class athlete in the ring, and no problem there. But I'm willing to give it a shot. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Cody Rhodes. Of the character. I do think he was force fed far too quickly, I think. And, going into WrestleMania without taking a loss upon his return last year, WrestleMania, I thought was a bit far-fetched. But I do really think that he is a main eventer. I think he looks the part. I think he plays the part. I think that in the ring, like you said, he's, A+ across the board. And I do think that it would be good for him. I think the crowd is behind him. He's very over. And when I start just going by process of elimination, who else would be a contender? Like, you have to start this off with a bang, right? Like, you want this to be like an established star, someone who's really going to benefit from this as well. And aside from Cody Rhodes, there's 3 other ones that I would say are candidates for it. And it's Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins in no particular order. And I feel like Bobby Lashley is going to be in the queue to face off against Roman Reigns. And you could also make that case for Seth Rollins. So, is it kind of really down to Cody versus Drew?
Kind of. Yeah, I think it is, because Seth would absolutely be a great pick. But here's the problem. I think Seth and Roman, you and I have been talking about it forever. That's a program that needs to happen, and it needs to happen for Roman's championship, not for the World Heavyweight title on Raw, because there's a story to tell with Seth and with Roman that should not involve the World Heavyweight title. So sure, I think it could come down to maybe a triple threat at the Saudi event, Night of Champions, if that's what they're saying is the name of the pay-per-view at the end of May. And it could be a triple threat with Bobby, Drew, and Cody, with Cody end up probably pinning Bobby Lashley to get the victory in that matchup, if it somehow ends up in a triple threat. But absolutely, I think Seth Rollins needs to be. You need Seth and Roman on the same brand. It's a must. It's a story that needs to be told.
I agree. And it's crazy that they've gone this long into Roman Reigns' title run and they've only faced off once. And Seth Rollins was on SmackDown for all of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So they had opportunities, but Seth was, I think that was during his Messiah gimmick. So you didn't want to have heel versus heel. And Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns is a very fresh matchup. So I think you're going to put them on the same brand, which would take Bobby Lashley out of the running. But you've done Cody versus Roman. You've done Drew versus Roman. It just logically says to me that it would be Drew versus Cody, or one of those two. And I just feel like Drew is a bit stale right now. The only other thing that I could maybe see is that if you have a heel Drew win the world championship to start off, and then Cody maybe captures it at SummerSlam. but maybe you have Cody offset Roman Reigns as a babyface champion, right? Like we haven't had a true babyface champion since Drew McIntyre, and that wasn't even in front of people. That was during the COVID era. So, I mean, I guess the way to start off in, again, a way too early prediction would be Cody Rhodes as the babyface world heavyweight champion and maybe a heel Drew McIntyre. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with a heel Drew McIntyre. In fact, if Drew comes back, and it sounds like he is, I think Drew needs a shot in the arm, a change, and I think a heel turn for Drew would be well received, and it would help his career. But I just don't want another heel champion on another show. I understand the chase. 95% of the time I'm with you, but in this case, with having a heel champion for so long, I think people would look at this and go, "Oh my God! Like, are we ever going to get a babyface world champion again?" And they can't do it now simply because of the Roman Reigns factor. Other than that, I would say, yeah, like 9 times out of 10, absolutely. But it's because of Roman Reigns that they're introducing this championship in the first place. So they can't put it on somebody that the crowd doesn't like again, to start with anyway. I'm fine if Cody only has a 6-month run or it's, a 12-month run, and then they, give it to a heel. But right now, this is Cody's belt to lose, and I have no problem with that. It'll be fun. It'll shake things up, certainly, and I think Cody Rhodes is likely going to stay on Raw. I mean, I think our draft pick there of having Cody stay on Raw is probably going to come to fruition.
Yeah, I would. It's going to be fun, and I would assume that it's going to be the Raw Championship, right? Like, are we thinking that maybe Roman Reigns could end up on Monday Night Raw?
To me, there's almost no chance. I mean, there's almost no chance. This has to be the Raw Championship, and I think this kind of confirms it. Again, I haven't seen how exactly they've introduced this belt. Like, I want to hear Triple H's words if he says this is a Raw specific championship or whatever. So that will certainly sway my decision, but I would imagine it's a Raw Championship exclusive belt. I mean, they're not going to bring it to SmackDown and have Roman come to Raw. Roman has made a very nice place on SmackDown. He fits so well. There's almost no chance to me of Roman coming to SmackDown or going to Raw with the whole bloodline. So, but last question, as we look at the other matches on Backlash, I'm not asking you to go match by match, but are there anything else that stands out that you're like looking forward to? Maybe the triple or the 6-man tag with Sami, Kevin, and Riddle against the Bloodline, or Austin Theory versus Bobby versus Bronson Reed for the U.S. title. I mean, I don't know, or Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega. I'm not sure if there's anything else that kind of grabs your attention you're looking forward to.
Honestly, I'm going to say something that maybe is out of left field, but I'm kind of excited that Damian Priest is getting put in a prominent position because I feel like he quickly became the forgotten guy of the Judgment Day. And if we remember, he was the first guy to join Edge and kind of join and create the Judgment Day. Like, Edge wasn't the Judgment Day by himself. It started with him and Damian Priest. And with Edge gone, he's kind of like the elder statesman of that group. I know that Rhea has kind of become the star of it, and Dominic has, carved out his own path as like this mega heel, and Finn has been portrayed and presented as like the de facto leader. But I feel like Damian Priest has a lot to offer, both in the ring. I think he's decent on the mic. I think that he has a good presence about him. His voice is very commanding. And I'm happy to see them putting Damian Priest back in a prominent position, as oddly as that may sound.
No, I said the same thing, I think, on my weekend review or maybe a different show. But yeah, Damian Priest, who has been the forgotten child of the Judgment Day, it's nice to see him get something, even if it is with a celebrity celebrity kind of temporary guy, a temporary matchup with Bad Bunny. I'm cool with it. It reminds you how good Damian Priest is, and he's been overshadowed by Dominic's brilliance of, arguably being the top heel in the company, arguably, and Finn Balor and Edge, of course, and Rhea Ripley, who is kind of a sneaky babyface inside the Judgment Day right now. And I have felt kind of for Damian Priest, especially around WrestleMania time where he seemingly had nothing to do. Now he does, and it's nice to see him getting that spotlight that he has been kind of been denied over the last several months. So I'm all for that as well. We'll see what happens when Bad Bunny leaves, and then, what programs they have in store for him. But I'm all for, a Damian Priest spotlight. Yes. So, all right. Well, I think that'll conclude things here. Did you have anything you wanted to say in conclusion, or anything that you want to talk about, plug? Of course, your show this past week.
Yeah, I was just going to plug John Bradshaw Layfield and how amazing that run was. And there's actually one thing that I forgot to mention in my show, so I want to bring it up, is that during his rivalry with The Undertaker in the late summer and the fall of 2004, he actually brought back Gangrel and Viscera for a handicap match against The Undertaker. I don't know if people remember that.
I don't remember that. No,
really?
No, I have to Google this. Oh.
Yeah, you have to Google it. They had the entrance. It was kind of weird, though. They came out to the Brood's theme song, but they were dubbed the Ministry. So that was kind of like, I guess, Vince McMahon was playing on people not having a memory. But I guess there was an overlap between the Brood and the Ministry. But yeah, Viscera and Gangrel came back to help JBL fight The Undertaker.
I'm YouTubing this the moment we're done with this call. I do not remember that. Yeah, that's a really cool. Now that was just a one-off though, right? They didn't have any kind of staying power. It was just kind of like a one-night thing.
Well, that was a one-off, but Viscera, I think, would sign a contract, and then he went over to Monday Night Raw. And I don't know if you remember, he quickly became the world's largest love machine, and he'd fight in pajamas and everything.
Oh yeah.
And he was obsessed with like Lillian Garcia, and there's like that shot of him. I think he was talking to Trish backstage, and he pulled out like a pack of like 20 condoms or something. Like it was clearly a brainchild of Vince McMahon, but one of those things that was so ridiculous that it worked. Like seeing this 600-pound mammoth walk around in like silk pajamas. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. He was in pajamas. That's exactly what he wore when he wrestled, yes. Because he was such a large dude that if he wore anything that exposed the shape of his body, he would look morbidly obese.
Well, you say that, but then they repackaged him as Big Daddy V and sent him to ECW, and he literally wore, for lack of better terms, Lululemon leggings with 2 singlet straps. And you saw his entire body, and it did. Anyway, I don't want to body shame, but yes, the pajamas were a much better look.
The pajamas. Oh, God. Good stuff. So, yeah, guys, go check out the JBL's run, the 10-month run he had on SmackDown that felt forever. But, of course, now and it's a blink of an eye now when you look at Roman's run. But just a very impactful run during 2004, one that made you so angry at JBL, but skyrocketed him to the top of the industry as undisputed champion. Really just a nice cover of that run, and I'm glad you brought up the whole Viscera and Gangrel thing. I would have never remembered that. So good stuff. So very good. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man, and we will be in touch next week.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.